At least until any sort of an expansion like adds another 10 cards that are really good, and I go, oh my god, what am I going to take out? Hopefully that doesn't happen, even though I kind of do want it to, but I really don't want to get wrecked again by making these decks. Hey guys, I'm Lazor, otherwise known as Matt, and yeah, Wizards decided, you know what, we'll release like 10 more cards. So those 2 deck lists you did were completely null and void now, so that's cool. Thanks guys. Thumbs up. .jpg. My face is not happy. I was like, yeah, new cards. Like, oh shit, son. Oh, now what am I gonna do? You see, 64 cards. See how many people get annoyed at the fact that I run 64 cards in Peacekeepers, and I haven't seen the reasoning for it. But I actually am a bit lazy, so I'm just gonna say what I've changed instead of actually go through every single fucking card again, because I'll be here all night, and I don't want to be here all night. I want to get another deck list to you guys this week, probably Obedient Dead, since I've had so many messages about Obedient Dead. People are like, Matt, how do you run your Obedient Dead? Matt, you're so good, I want to know how you run it. How's that Obedient Dead coming along? Yo, Obedient Dead, Obedient, and I'm like, everyone's playing it. So I upload some games, I go, Matt, why are you uploading Obedient Dead? Why don't you upload some different game? Everyone's uploading Obedient. I'm like, fuck's sake, can't win. So I'll upload one sometime this week or next week. I don't know. I don't even know what day it is, to be honest. I've lost complete track of time and the ability to speak. I think this is the first time I've spoke out loud all day, and it is 6:22 in the afternoon. So we'll see. We'll see. So first change, I think. I can't particularly remember. I think Lil Sentry was in it before. Maybe, I don't know. He's not now. There you go. He's good. He's just not very like aggressive, I guess. He's more of a defensive guy. And there's like 2 ways you can run this. There's a very defensive method into late game, which is also defensive. And there's a very aggressive method. I'm going with the very aggressive method since I feel that it's slightly better and more fun to play. Aggressive defending method includes massive decoys, Loyal Sentry, Intrepid Heroes, pacifisms, stuff like Pen and Blade, these guys, Archon of Justices, and stuff like that. So yeah, you just see 2 Captain the Watchers in the sideboard, which is not a good day when you see 2 Captain the Watchers in the sideboard. But it's not particularly a bad day since they did put a 3rd one in the game, so it's fine. Sigil of New Dawn was a new card that was added. I recently took it out. 4 cost enchantment. You pay 2 if you do return. Well, when a creature dies, you may pay 2 if you do return creature card from the graveyard to your hand. It's really good, and like I say, a defensive deck, but most of the time I'm throwing tokens at my opponent, and I don't mind if my creatures die. I'm tapping out quite a lot. I just found that it was on the field, and it had some presence, but I never actually used its ability, and I've had it on the field quite often. It's really good on paper, like a lot of the cards, but I haven't found it working, so so that is on the side for now. Spectral Rider is a 2/2 Intimidate for 2, which is really good value for card, I guess. But they went and brought out another 2-drop that I feel is a lot better, so Spectral Rider is out. They're also, in the DLC, there are going to be a couple more white decks, so white is probably going to be one of the highest ratio of cards that you'll play against. So yeah, Spectral Rider's Intimidate will be worth a lot less whenever that DLC comes out, which could either be next month, which is August, or September. It's probably going to be one of those 2. Crusade of Odric, there are 3, so I took one out. It's fine. Flicker Wisp, people like, put it in, so I did. Didn't find it, I didn't get to play it once, so there was never a time where I go, okay, now I can play Flicker Wisp over this card. Nope, didn't happen once in a game, so there you go. Alright, we've got the usual suspects here. We've got our 3 Elite Vanguards, we got two Doomed Travelers. We got a new shiny Accorda Paladin to replace the other Accorda Paladin, because new and shiny and all that kind of stuff. He buffs outside when he attacks. He usually only attacks once, but sometimes once is all you need. Honor of the Pure buffs all of my creatures, and we got a new shiny one, so that's pretty good. These are the new guys, so these are the reason why the deck is 64 instead of 61 or 60, because I like to class Squadron Hawk as 1 card. I know it's kind of bad of me, but I do. So you get Squadron Hawk, and when it does, it goes and fetches the other 2, and to be honest, it doesn't slow down the play at all. You get more creatures out of it. I wanted to run all 3 Squadron Hawks that there are available. It doesn't really slow the game down at all because you end up fetching them straight away, which thins out your deck regardless. You only get 1 more land, which is really the only addition other than running Squadron Hawks. So I can run all of my Squadron Hawks and a land, or I can just not run a land and no Squadron Hawks. So I decided I'd like my Squadron Hawks, since it doesn't actually stop me. It lowers the chance of me drawing a potential off-the-top winner card by a tiny amount. But if it was 3 regular cards that didn't fetch each other, then I probably wouldn't. I mean, I think this is the only deck I'm running at 64 at the moment. I ran a few before, but I decided they're better at 61, and this is the only one keeping it at 64 because of that reason, because they fetch each other. We already talked about that we took Crusader Vodric out. 2 is fine in this game, along with, as you can see, there are 12 3-drops regardless, so 2 is fine, and I decided a second Guardian's Pledge was a lot more worth the value. I took out a Captain's Call. That was basically what I replaced for the guys. For my 3 Squadron Hawks, I took out a Captain's Call and threw in the Squadron Hawks. 2 Dawn Elemental. The Dawn Elemental is instead of Sigil and New Dawn. I decided Dawn Elemental was a little bit better because it can be defensive and aggressive. It's one of those kind of cards. It prevent all damage that will be dealt to it. I got a foil one as well. It's pretty nice. There aren't that many 4-drops, but all of them are vital. All of them work really well. Guys on the Mount, we've been over her. We got our new shiny Captain the Watch. Gives all soldiers +1/+1 and vigilance, and it puts 3 1/1 white soldier creatures onto the battlefield with him. So that's not bad. And we got Sun Titan, who works really well in both defensive and aggressive builds, by the way. Vigilance 6/6. When it comes onto the field, you may return any permanent card from your graveyard that has a 3 mana cost or less, and you may put it straight onto the battlefield for free. So if we have a look, that includes all lands because of their mana cost of 0. So it includes all Glorious Anthems. Fiend Hunter is probably one of the most valuable cards you can get with it. Crusader Vodrics, Attended Knights, any of these Squadron Hawks. These don't count because they are instants and not permanents. These do because they're enchantments, which are permanents. Same with Honor of the Pure, and all of these cards come back to life for free, and it does that when it enters the battlefield and every time it attacks. So I played it yesterday for its first time. I think it has only got 1 or 2 plays so far, and it just wins you the game. I basically was a little bit of a tricky bastard. I had a Fiend Hunter that had a pretty okay guy captured underneath him, or exiled underneath him. He'd like put it under his cloak, and I swung with Fiend Hunter and a few other tokens as well to make it look like it was on purpose. He killed my Fiend Hunter in the block stage. I was like, oh no, and he had a much better guy on the field who killed my Fiend Hunter, much better than what I'd already exiled. I then played my Sun Titan second phase, got my Fiend Hunter back, and took his big creature. So it's definitely useful in this deck. Like I say, 64 because of Squadron Hawks. It's a very aggro build. So there you go. What was the other one? Dream Puppets. Alright, Dream Puppets. So we'll go over this and then I'll end it. And then the next video that you see from me on this channel will probably be Obedient Dead, because people have been wanting Obedient Dead. So first of all, the changes. So we got all 4 Jesus Phantasm in the sideboard now. We only had 2 before. I felt that it worked well with 2 in the deck, give it a bit more aggression. Unfortunately for me, and unfortunately for when I made the deck list, I didn't foresee them putting in some really good cards for this deck, which they did do. I mean, I think this deck definitely got the weak end of the stick. Obedient Dead got the strongest end for the promo cards. I think this deck got pretty weak cards in comparison to what every other deck got, but I can't really complain because they're still decent, they're still better than what's already in. Otherwise they'd all be in the sideboard, obviously. Some of them are, as you see by here. Dream Factor, it's a counter spell for 1 more and both players draw a card, so it's okay, but it's not particularly great. Sands of Delirium, I was never a fan of Sands of Delirium in the first place. They put another one in, still not a fan of it, same the sideboard. Stroke of Genius, I don't like it. I don't see a possibility where I would like it. You want to use Stroke of Genius, you would have to, if you ran Stroke of Genius, you would have to run the Sapphire Medallions. That is the only way I could think that you would run it effectively So yeah, that would be the only way I would run it, but I'm not going to run it because there are much better cards that can be used in a much more versatile way than this. I mean, Prosperity is just better than Stroke of Genius. There are two sort of body and minds now. I ran a version where I was running both and I was running other things, but it still came down to a similar way, which is if you don't go heavy on creatures, your sword and body and minds unfortunately kind of become dead cards. If you do go heavy on creatures, which I've seen Daisho running recently, sword and body and minds, fantastic card. This guy we've been on about, these guys we have, these were all out. Okay, there's a body double in the sideboard. Not saying that body double is bad, because they gave us a second body double, and that is in the main deck. So there you go. I believe Mind Control was in before, it removes a blocker, but it unfortunately just got a bit outclassed in the 5-drop period, along with like most of these guys. Telemann Performance, I never was a fan of it, yet again they brought out another one. Force Fruition, really good end game. This is a brilliant way to end the game. Unfortunately it does cost 6. I mean, my deck doesn't particularly have enough stall to where land drop 6, you don't want some... it's great, but land drop 6, your opponent most of the time can get away without playing any spells and just kill you, which is unfortunate for me. But for now, I couldn't find room for it. I probably could if I wanted to. But it has no immediate effect until turn 6. So, anyway, Grindstone, one of the best releases for mill that I could think of. 3 mana, 3 colorless to 1 mana to play, 3 colorless to use its ability. You tap it, put the top 2 cards of a target player's library into that player's graveyard. If both cards share the same color, repeat the process. What people didn't realize, and what I did realize because I knew, is against monocolor decks, it will basically mill until it hits a land, because lands are technically colourless and don't in fact have a colour. Otherwise you'd play this against Apex, tap it on turn 3 and win, because it will just mill. But no, it will just mill 2 cards until it hits a land, which sometimes can just be the first 2 cards, and sometimes it could be for 16. I think is the maximum I've got out of it so far is 16 in 1 turn. And that actually won me the game. So, because my opponent was at like 30 cards and I had 1 turn to live after the one I was on, so I managed to mill him for 16, and then it was history from then. I managed to mill him again the next turn, so that was pretty good. We've been over all of these cards before in the previous one. It's all to do with the draw mechanic. I don't know if there's anything that I didn't have before that I have now, but draw mechanic and stall mechanic, these guys are really useful anyway. Dreamborn Muse. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, player puts top X cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard, where X is the number of cards in hand, so it mills you and it mills them, but it's probably going to mill them for quite a lot. In the build I'm running, it runs fantastically. I'm glad they added a 3rd one instead of just the 2. There you go. Here's the shiny body double that we were on about before. People told me to put Scalpel Lexus in. I did. I tried it. It worked pretty effectively. There you go. I like it. A second Traumatize. Traumatize is really good against... it's really good in 2 situations. Really good against bad players who run like 100 cards. Really good against them. And it's really good if you didn't get off to such a quick start that you hoped. Let me put it this way, if Traumatize gets like over 10 cards, it's done its job, because if it's got 10 cards, let's say it milled 10 for 5, which isn't that great, but that means that their library is at 20 when you're using it, which means you've had a really good start to a game, and it's now at 10 after you play it. So either way, and if you play it and they've got 50 cards in deck, now they've got 25, which I think it's impossible to have them have 50 cards unless they're running more, I guess. So it's kind of good all the way through until like, well, less than 20, I'd say. Then other cards become a lot more, have a lot more value to it. And this guy I'm keeping him because he has the initial benefit of milling them for 7 if he's in your opening hand, which always is useful. I haven't found a time where I've gone, oh, I've got this guy in my opening hand. That kind of blows, but I didn't enjoy milling him for 7 on tin 0, seeing what deck he's playing, so I know exactly what to do. I mean, he has to sit there for 7 turns, but that's fine because he can win you the game if he does lay on the field anyway. So there you go. That's the 2 builds. Changed slightly. This one hasn't changed that much because, like I said, I didn't particularly get that many good promos. We got an extra Traumatize, got an extra Dreamborn Muse, and Millstone. I think it's Millstone. I think it's Grindstone actually. I like thinking that it's millstone, but I know it's not, it's grindstone. There you go. And that should be the video. Kind of blows that they said about 10 cards for each deck, only for certain people who are pro enough to get the codes, which apparently I was pro enough to get the codes, so there you go. And if you follow me on Twitter, you're also pro enough to get the codes because I put them out there. And if you can also, and if also you put the effort in to Google it, then you're pro enough. And yeah, so that's going to be the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll get that Obedient Dead. People have been begging me for it, so I'll go and get it. I'll go and show you some Obedient Dead stuff. And if you want gameplay from me, there's lots on my channel. There is too much. It could be said there is too much gameplay on my channel. And I'm keeping the deck list over here. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.